But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Number ZZ9 plural Z alpha. Number ZZ9. I said I've never seen such hideousness in all my life.
I said listen to all this, sir.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Like a furry torpedo to the jugular. This is Honey Badger Radio. Radio with Buddy.
But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Number ZZ9 plural Z alpha. Number ZZ9. I said I've never seen such hideousness in all my life.
I said listen to all this, sir.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Like a furry torpedo to the jugular. This is Honey Badger Radio. Radio with Buddy.
But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Number ZZ9 plural Z alpha. Number ZZ9. I said I've never seen such hideousness in all my life.
Listen to all this,
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Like a furry torpedo to the jugular. This is Honey Badger Radio. Radio with Buddy.
But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
There we go. Hello, and welcome to HBR Talk 289, Two Advancements in Men's Health. I'm your host, Hannah Wallen, here with Nonsense Annihilator Lauren Brooks, and we are taking a break tonight from the toxic flood for some good news. Before we get into that, though, we gotta do what we gotta do. As always, Honey Badger Radio dishes out a smorgasbord of thought-provoking discussions, and as experience is both recent and long past have demonstrated, the provoked thoughts are fighting back. They've made it clear that for people like us, relying on third-party payment platforms like Patreon to fund our work is treading on thin ice, or building our house in the path of a rapidly growing wildfire. In light of this, we strongly encourage our supporters to switch at least their support for us to feedthebadger.com, the most stable way to help us out. And if you want to tip us directly instead of relying on any social media platforms tip jar, the link for that is feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And as always, the same risk applies to our social media platforms, which is why you should further provoke the thought police by tracking our thought-provoking discussions on honeybadgerbrigade.com, where you can find your way to all of our content, as well as a link to feedthebadger.com in the drop-down menu at the top of the page. I'm hearing volume adjust. I don't know if I can, let's see what I can do here. Let's see if my microphone is being a bitch. It's not. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like you're a little bit low, but I mean it could just be me adjusting to the setup again, but whatever.
It might be, but I think my microphone, maybe my microphone is being a bitch. It's got two different ways the volume can be adjusted. So I'm adjusting the volume in well, it's actually got three, because I can adjust the volume in Discord as well. So let me try that. And it's a fun thing here, because like we'll have everything all set up, everything will be working just fine, and then you hit stream on OBS, or you switch scenes, and it just suddenly doesn't work anymore. Like, I don't even know why. Alright. Where is... There it is, voice and video. I'm like, haven't had to adjust this in a while. Well, I can see why the Discord one is... All of a sudden, Discord decided not to use my microphone. Like, it was using my microphone 5 minutes ago. Fucker. There we go. Now it should be... I should sound better in Discord. And... I'm turning up all of the volumes in OBS, so we'll see what happens there. Try this, Lauren. Say something.
Hello, hello, hello.
Okay, you look good on there. My voice is still not jumping up the way it should. I don't know what the... And, of course, now the cursor's not moving. There we go. I don't know what the heck. I have pissed off the computer gods. Technical difficulties ensue. Holy shit. Well, my computer can't be doing a update because I literally did the update an hour ago. Not by choice. So, obviously... Yeah, there we go. In any case. Alright, so, sound... Hopefully the sound issues are alright. Are better. Gin Bottle says the volume's fine. So, hopefully I'm not blasting you guys out now, because we fixed the volume. When it was fine for some people and not for the... Maybe the volume problem is on your... look and see if you've got your player turned up on your computer. Alright, so, with all of that out of the way, that's the easy stuff to treat. We got 2 articles tonight that I found the other day when I was looking for something, sort of a palate cleanser in regard to all of the shit we've been looking at that Michael Flood had to say. And this is actually really great news. There have been... and it looks like in the past year or so, 2 breakthroughs in treatment for prostate cancer, which prostate cancer doesn't get anywhere near the funding that things like breast cancer, lung cancer, colon cancer. Those things are more heavily funded because people are more scared of them. People don't understand how dangerous that prostate cancer can be, and so the first one that we're going to look at here, this one is from the Sun, the U.S. Sun, and it's actually an article about a treatment that is available now on NHS, but this is a newer treatment, and it is a treatment that's available for if you find the cancer earlier. So I'm going to start with that article. The title is Breakthrough Prostate Cancer Treatment That Destroys Tumors is Now Available on NHS. And the neat thing about this one is it's not chemotherapy, and it's not the type of radiation that burns you that people are used to. You burn the tumors out. This is different. So, a breakthrough treatment for prostate cancer is being rolled to NHS clinics across the country. High-intensity ultrasound, focused ultrasound. So, its initials are HIFU. So, it's Hi, Cancer, FU. But uses frequency sound waves to destroy tumors with much milder side effects than traditional therapies for more advanced cancers. Now, I've heard of the use of this type of treatment for other things. I have family members that have a predisposition toward kidney stones, and the predisposition toward kidney stones leads you to get some that are not going to go through the urethra unless they're broken up and made smaller. And so what they do is they put you in a hot tub and they direct high frequency or high intensity focused ultrasound at the kidney stone, and it breaks it. It makes it shatter and become much smaller pieces that'll actually fit. through the urethra. So it's interesting to see them using this on tumors, because it indicates that this will do something similar. It probably causes the cells to self-destruct in the tumor. So it kills it. And then your body can just take care of it from there, because your immune system and your endocrine system will clean it out.
Yeah.
But I was amazed when I saw this, because I thought, well, this is great if the tumors are not, all over the body and everything, and they're just focusing on one area. That helps to get rid of what's in that one area, and then it's taken care of before it has a chance to spread. And yeah, Jen Bottle, it is kind of like glass particles when you pee, but kidney stones are always like that. And if they pulverize it like that with sound waves, the way they break off, it pretty much, it's kind of like when you pulverize stones in one of those little tumblers. So they're not going to be as rough as kidney stones that formed that size can be. Those usually do have sharp edges.
I just can't even imagine the pain of having to pass something like that. I mean, they say it's similar to childbirth, but I wouldn't know. But
well, it's
good.
one thing that nobody can argue that it's not worse for men than it is for women, because men have a longer urethra. So it has more space to travel through to get out. But I've heard that it's really bad. And, Jen Bottle says, drink lots of water, because at least that'll push them out faster.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I fortunately haven't had to go through that yet. It all depends on my motherfucker gene.
Don't say yet.
I have to say yet. It's like I have genetic predisposition to bad kidneys. But whoever wrote the program for my body was like, well, this isn't going to be needed for very long. She's not sticking around, so. And I fooled you, huh?
Yeah,
I'm still
you
here.
trust. I'm telling you, man. Life keeps trying, but you are winning.
Yeah, I'm stubborn. I am a stubborn ass. So there you go. Ask anybody who's argued with me on Twitter. So in this article, it says patients can be treated in 1 day and return to normal activities within 2 weeks, but enjoy similar success rates to more invasive procedures. Previously, HIFU has only been available in the UK at specialist centres in London and surrounding areas, but cancer charity Prostate, that's PROST number 8, has worked to make it available nationwide. So now, even if you're not, like rich or in a specific area where it's easy to get to a particular area, even if you're not approved to go to a specialist and you can just go, to regular treatment centers, you still can get this treatment. So it's available to every guy now and not just some. It comes as the charity claims men with lower grade cancers are often overtreated for prostate cancer and are not routinely offered this less invasive procedure. Which, again, this is about side effects. Because if you get treated with chemotherapy, that's poison. And that's going to cause things like hair loss. It's going to cause things like damage to other parts of the body. It definitely causes kidney damage, which kidneys don't get better after they've been damaged unless there's some recovery that you can have. But if you do severe damage to your kidneys, you're always going to have kidney problems after that for the rest of your life. And so if you make your body process poison, then you're definitely going to have health problems from that for the rest of your life. So it's something, it's worth doing if you're going to die if you don't do it. But if it's just a choice between doing it or doing something else that will be effective that maybe you just didn't have access to and now you do, it's a great advancement to have this become widely available. And then, the other option being radiation. Again, like that's a high risk. That's a poison in and of itself, and it does its own types of damage. Like you're burning the tumors out instead of breaking them up.
Yeah.
So the first unit outside of the capital is opening at Royal United Hospitals, Bath, in what is hailed as a milestone for prostate cancer in Britain. And hopefully this will spread. The people in the United States will figure out that, hey, this works. We want to make this widely available. Prostate is working on opening further treatment centers at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital at King's Lynn, the Royal Liverpool Hospital, University Hospital, and Victoria Hospital in, I'm assuming this is Fife, yeah. Because it's not like fiefdom, it's Fife, the instrument, I hope. Scotland.
I do believe the closest to a Scot we have is here, but he's muted. But yeah, I mean,
the accent.
Oh, there he goes, but he's low. I can barely hear him.
I can barely hear you. Are you in here, Mike?
I am. I'm on a different device.
Okay, let me see if I can fix the volume, because you're really low. Your volume's all the way up for me already. Try getting into your settings and voice and video, and see if that'll bring it up. And I am going to change screens to put you in the screen here. There we go. Mike pops in.
If I'm that low, then it might not be worth it.
Oh gosh, that's really low. Maybe you're having the same problem I was having. My computer, for the Discord, just for the Discord, not for OBS for some reason, my computer decided that it was not going to use my microphone, and it decided it was going to use its microphone because it's an asshole.
Okay, how about now?
Oh, that's way better.
Oh.
Yes, we have volume. All right.
You wouldn't see the technical difficulties I'm having. Half of my electronic devices aren't charging. And that includes the battery charger, it includes my phone, it includes my other phone. You don't want to know that. Let's get on with it.
Well, one thing I do know, when we traveled to the UK, the whole outlet system is different. So you have to have an adapter, and then on top of that, it's the plugs are different. So the adapter you have to be able to plug into the adapter and then plug out, into the electrical system. And if the adapter has anything wrong with it from going through the flight, hot and cold, and bouncing around inside the luggage compartment and getting tossed all over the place by the people that are dealing with the luggage, then you're kind of screwed. I got to the point.
But that's enough of the technical difficulties. The audience don't want to hear about this. Let's do the thing.
I will say I got to the point where I started buying them at the airport because of that. But in any case, so we were at the various treatment services or centers they're opening, and the RUH Bath deployment is co-funded by Prostate and the UK-focused Ultrasound Foundation, and underscores a collective commitment to advancing prostate cancer care and redefining the treatment landscape across the UK. So for once, they're actually focused on men's health. For once, they're actually doing what they should be doing for men. Instead of being like, oh, we're gonna spend all our money on women. Oh, we're gonna make this available only in one place. They're actually making it to where men can actually get to the places where they need to be in order to receive these services. Philip Keevel, chairman.
I just want to, because we hear the horror stories about the NHS and, Yeah, I love this. It sounds great, but are men gonna actually be able to get to a doctor in time? Because as you said, this is something that if it's caught early enough that they can, do this treatment. But how often is that gonna happen?
Yeah, the hard part is getting the appointment.
Right. And getting men to even say, all right, well, maybe I should go see a doctor. Maybe someone should look at this. Maybe I should go
Yeah.
get some help for
Yeah,
this.
guys,
It's
listen to
hard
Tom
enough to get
Green.
men to do that.
Listen to Tom Green on this, guys.
Yes.
Play with your balls so you don't get cancer.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
or like I the one time that I had a breast lump, it wasn't cancer. I had it was smashed by a seatbelt in a car accident, and one of the glands got pissed off. I guess I would be too. But in any case, I didn't find it. I mean, the guy that I was dating at the time found it. So this could be a couple's activity as long as you're gentle.
Yes.
So there you go. Of course, prostate cancer just relies on the regular checkups, and like most guys will do that as long as they're not treated like they're being whiny for going to the doctor. Like this is something that women, oh, men don't go to the doctor, men don't go to the doctor, and then he goes to the doctor, and it's like, what are you whining about? What's
Yeah.
the, like, yeah. So what's the Hannah disaster?
I mean, for crying out loud, you're not even allowed, as a man, you're not even allowed to have a fucking cold without them calling it a man.
Yeah.
Sorry, lady, just because you don't know how to, handle him in that situation doesn't mean that it's any worse than when you are sick and coughing and, spewing out all those other lovely things that happen when you when you're sick. But yeah.
Yep. So definitely keep up on those. This is what can be done if you find out early. And this is an interesting thing too. This type of cancer you can have a genetic predisposition to it. So it's one where if you know that members of your family have experienced prostate cancer or testicular cancer and stuff like that, you gotta definitely keep up on your regular checks. Make sure you're not letting that go. I've done that with. There's quite a few cancers that my family has predisposition to, thanks to the mutation on the motherfucker gene. I'm gonna keep saying that for the rest of my life because who decided that the gene would be labeled MTHFR? I mean, come on. What else am I gonna call it? But so I've done that. I've done testing that's very unpleasant that you really don't want to hear about because my family has a predisposition toward ass cancer. So if I can do it, you can do it. I hate going to the doctor. I would rather do anything than go to the doctor. I have patched up things that should have had stitches and not gone in for stitches because I didn't want to go to the doctor. So, but I'll take care of that because I don't want to die of ass cancer. I want to die of something else. Less unpleasant. And you don't want to die of prostate cancer, so you get your testing done.
I gotta go, man. Because you hit that age and your doctor tells you, well, time to go for a colonoscopy. I'm like, wait a minute. No, I'm not. I can't.
Yeah.
No, it's time. It's time, and it's such an uncomfortable thing to think about, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
It can save your life if you go and catch something early enough. And God, a pound of prevention is
ounce of prevention is worth
with a pound of cure. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
And the older you get, like, you just don't have that time. You don't get that time back.
yeah,
You know.
exactly. And in terms of that testing, the colonoscopy testing, the thing to remember is, besides the fact that it's not as unpleasant as it used to be,
Mm.
it's you get to go in and be knocked out and not remember anything, and the poor doctor has to look at the inside of your ass through a tiny little camera that he has to manipulate like it's some kind of video game. So that's it could be worse. You could be the person doing the dirty job.
Listen, for the amount of money that they get paid to do it, I'd almost rather be on the other end.
They deserve that money. They deserve every penny they get.
Yes.
Imagine going to medical school, becoming a doctor, making your parents proud, and then you become a proctologist.
Yep.
It's a mixed bag of reputation, isn't it? I'm a doctor, yeah? Oh, yeah, what kind of doctor? That doesn't matter. I'm a doctor, that's what's important.
A doctor who saves men's lives. And as we tweeted out with this story, hashtag, men's lives matter. That's a tough one for people to accept. They'll accept any other hashtag, lives matter, for whatever reason, but as soon as you talk about men, poor Allison, it goes out on her account, she's probably going to get flagged from people for that. And I'm the one that wrote it. But so when you see the HBR Talk tweet, Allison didn't write that, I did. I'm the asshole. But I will tweet that out, because while we talk about the different movements and the different, counter arguments and all that, it literally is not recognized how much men's lives matter. Like we hear about it. We hear about all of the deaths and everything that people are co-victims of, right? Women lose everybody they love in war, so they're the bigger victims. And they're widows now, so nobody's going to support them, and it's the families that have the loss when a male firefighter goes in and rescues somebody and then dies from the effects of being in the building, or when a cop gets shot as opposed to the criminal getting shot, and so on, or when someone is wrongfully shot by the cops. But it's the men who die. They're gone. They don't get a second chance. They don't get to complain about their situation. They can't recover from it. There's no recovery from death. Right? You're done. That's it. It's over. And so obviously all of the victim signaling around men's deaths, the thing that we're skating around and skirting around is actually men's lives matter very much, and we forget until we lose them, and then we don't have all of the things they did and all of the things that made them functionally important in our lives, and the people who miss them in their lives miss them, and that's all of a sudden, oh no, now men's lives matter when they're dead. Well, this is great. These advancements are great because they're a moment when men's lives matter while they're still alive. And we need more of that.
Yeah.
Philip Keevil, chairman of the UK-focused Ultrasound Foundation, said, a HIFU is just one form of focused ultrasound, a non-invasive therapeutic medical technology that is transforming the treatment of a number of medical disorders, including many cancers and diseases of the brain. The sole raison d'etre of UK FUSF. I don't even know if that's pronounceable. UKFUSF is to provide patients in the UK with this life-changing treatment option with minimal side effects in the shortest time possible. So you catch it early. You go get your testing done. You catch it early, and you keep it from getting bad enough that you have no choice but to do radiation or chemotherapy or both. This is a great way to prevent both of those from having to happen. and a great way to just destroy it, and you're done, and you don't have to deal with it anymore, right? So the next story is what happens if you don't, or if you get sneaky cancer, because every so often it just slips through the cracks. This one is MU Healthcare pilots breakthrough treatment for prostate cancer, and this one is a treatment for cancer that has metastasized. Uses radioscopes produced in the University of Missouri research reactor. So this article, if I understand right, is from the University of Missouri because of that. The University of Missouri Healthcare has initiated its first treatment using FDA-approved targeted radioactive medicine for advanced metastatic prostate cancer. So if it gets through the cracks, you don't spot it in time, the doctor doesn't spot it in time, testing doesn't spot it in time, whatever, and it's normally would be too late. Well, now it's not too late. And this one's probably going to be more like an ad, read more like an ad, but at least we know this is available now. So, Pluvicto is the brand name for the radiopharmaceutical, which includes, I think this Lutetium-177, a radioscope only produced in the United States at the University of Missouri Research Reactor. This treatment shows promise in cases when metastatic prostate cancer has continued to progress after other interventions, such as chemotherapy and hormonal therapy. Mm-hmm. So this is a situation. This is like the situation where you detected the cancer, they've treated the cancer, and the cancer says, fuck you, I'm not leaving. And basically, this therapy is very promising for patients whose prostate cancer continues to advance following other treatments, said Gregory Biederman, MD, MU Healthcare Radiation Oncologist. Administration involves a total of 6 injections spaced 6 weeks apart. The injection takes less than 10 minutes, and there are no other medications required. Pronounced radioisotope. Where did I see radioisotope? Oh, radio. Oh, it's a. I see what it is. It's they put it as one word, but it's not. It's 2 words. Okay. MU Healthcare is utilizing this treatment as part of its innovation approval track, where novel therapies receive health system approval for implementation on a pilot basis. This pilot is a collaboration of nuclear medicine and radiation oncology, and the first infusion was completed at the Ellis Fishel Cancer Center. So this is basically, let's see, this would have been prior to COVID. There was a law passed to allow, it's called a right to try. So it's to allow treatments that, you're past the chance of being able to use previously approved treatments. And you've got a terminal illness, and your only chance is a treatment that isn't fully approved yet or isn't fully tested yet. And the other alternative to using that treatment is just going into comfort care, like having hospice come in and help you ease through the process of death. So it's either you're going to die slowly or try this treatment. And previously, the United States government prevented people from having access to these types of treatments, even under those circumstances. Like, if I don't try this, I'm going to die. Well, tough. It's too dangerous for you to try this. Like, what else is going to go wrong that's worse than death?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how inhumane is that? Like,
right.
Just when you're at the end stages of your life, just let people at least have a fighting chance.
Exactly. And so this right to try legislation was passed, I want to say in 2018. I might be wrong, but it was before 2020. It was before it was before ICMI 2019, because I know where I watched the reporting on it, and I wouldn't have been watching it in that home. I watched it at night, so I wouldn't have been watching it in the home that I was watching it in after 2019. Right. So this is something that was signed into federal law during the Trump administration. Trump signed this to allow this type of treatment to become available to people who had pretty much gone through all their other options, and this is the only thing left. Right. So this therapy is actually this creates hope for people who were in a hopeless situation before. So this is, again, preservation of life in a circumstance that previously there wasn't a way to do that. And Richard Beer says, similar approach is used to treat thyroid cancer. Radioactive iodine is used at the level normally for a PET scan, but cancer cells, being greedy, take in so much it kills them. That's fabulous, though. Like, here, have some of this. And Michael Keller wants to know if it states. Well, we'll continue reading, Michael, and find out if it states the half-life time and how it will leave the body. IMU Healthcare is utilizing this treatment as part of its innovation approval track. Let's see, I read that part. Lutetium. Yeah, Lutetium-177 PSMA therapy offers hope for those with advanced metastatic prostate cancer, said Amalak Singh, MD, a nuclear medicine physician and professor of radiology at MU Healthcare. The collaboration here at the University of Missouri to bring this product from MURR through the research process into clinical application is an extraordinary example of our commitment to precision medicine. In 2021, MUR entered into an exclusive multi-year agreement with Advanced Accelerator Applications International, SA, bunch of acronyms, a Novartis company, to provide LU-177, the key ingredient to Pluvicto and Luthara, a similar infusion treatment for neuroendocrine tumors. Luthara treatment is already fully implemented and available at MU Healthcare's Ellis Fisher Fishel Cancer Center. Let's see, LU-177 is a major success story for the university and MUR. I don't see the thing about the half-life, so I'm going to have to look that up. Said Matt Sanford, executive director of MUR, the scientific breakthroughs by our researchers and partners are improving and saving millions of lives every year. And we continue to research and develop essential radioisotopes used in treatments that benefit the citizens of Missouri and the nation. The FDA approved Pluvicto for treatment of metastatic prostate cancer in March 2022. MU Healthcare may offer Pluvicto widely in the future following the completion of the innovation pilot process. So this is, again, this is one of those...
It sounds like an ad.
Yeah, it's one of those... It does sound like an ad, but this is one of those situations where previously there was nothing that could be done, and now there is something that can be done. It's something that it's a last resort, and so it's not something that you want to have it done. If you want to get the early testing, and make sure that you're following all of the processes that you're supposed to follow in order to prevent yourself from getting to this point. Mm-hmm. But seeing these, and it probably, most news stories about drugs are an ad. Most news stories about, even in the UK, probably most news stories about drugs and treatments are an ad. But looking at this, and yeah, Badger live streams. Richard Bier says, so it turns the patient into radioactive man. Well, temporarily, yeah.
Yeah, for a little bit. I mean, is it better to do that than die? I mean,
right. Michael Keller says he read about it on the Almighty Trash Heap, and the side effects read like a light radiation sickness, which it sucks. Like I've seen friends locally through radiation sickness. I have a friend right now that is going through the type of cancer that my family usually gets, and has been dealing with the chemo sickness and the radiation sickness for the last year, and it sucks. It's not like you like, oh yay, we're gonna be doing this new thing, but again, it's good to know that it's out there if you end up in that situation.
Yeah.
So basically, what we've read about today, and this may be an ad, but it gives the information about the drug that's needed.
Well, I mean, it kind of
know it's available.
You know that it's available, but I think that's kind of really all that we know about it, because it doesn't really explain how successful it is, how many people have been tested. They say this thing, oh, this is the scientific breakthroughs by our researchers and partners are improving and saving millions of lives every year. But that doesn't necessarily mean or is necessarily referencing this lutetium LU-177 drug or therapy. And look, I don't want to just throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. I mean, listen, if they're excited about it and it looks promising, then great, but I would kind of like to see something a little bit more concrete than, well, we're positive about this thing and it works. Well, what are the side effects? And I've seen what happens with people who have been exposed to too much radiation, and it's not a pretty situation. But again, if this is something promising that can save your life, then I would do it in a heartbeat. Absolutely. I don't know. I just think, for me personally, ever since the events of the past few years, I just don't trust the FDA. I am very skeptical of our health systems in general.
Yeah.
But listen, I'm all for science and
yeah.
What I mean.
Looking on the University of Chicago's website, which they do offer this as well. What they've said is it's a type of radiation that specifically targets a molecule on the surface of prostate cancer cells called PSMA. So it's specific. It has a specific effect on this type of cancer because it targets something that is used to answer or to identify this type of cancer. The therapy is used with the companion diagnostic gallium-68. This is called Locuments, and this is also radioactive, which is more commonly known as the PSMA PET scan. Uses imaging to identify cancer that makes this molecule. And it's, if you look in this is probably also, just for disclosure, it's probably also an ad because they do this treatment. Let me grab the chat in. I mean, I'm on a desktop computer, so it's a little slow.
It doesn't sound like it's high levels of radiation.
Right. But it does use radioactivity. It kills using radioactivity. But this particular type doesn't attack. Like some radioactive treatments will attack all of your cells, and this, because it targets this specific molecule, it looks like it doesn't. It says down in the next section where it says how does it work. Prostate cancer cells make something on their surface called PSMA. That PSMA is what the radioactive molecules attach to. So it manages to damage and kill the cancer cells without indiscriminately attacking the healthy cells in the body. But the image that it shows of when they say it's metastasized, you can barely see the shape of the person in this image. But I'm going to pull this up on the screen because it... Come on, open sesame. Really? Open link. Open! Bad computer. Oh, now it's going to open twice. Because I got impatient. three times, maybe. There we go. We'll just... There we go. Alright, close tabs to the right. And we'll scroll down. This image, right, you can see here up at the top of the image, this is the head, right? And so this has gotten into all of the lymph nodes. It looks like it's gotten into the kidneys and the area surrounding the kidneys. You can see the sort of here is the pelvic area. This has gotten down into the legs. It's everywhere.
Good
It's a
Lord.
horrible image for a person to see in a doctor's office as their body, and it would be terrifying to a terrifying process to be fighting a battle against this. You would look at this and say, "God, I'm dead.
Yeah.
There is nothing I can do now." And in this instance, well, actually, there is. And so even though, what we're reading is an ad, the information that it gives us, that this attaches specifically to a molecule in this area, because if you were trying to use just indiscriminate poisoning of the body to destroy this much cancer and all over the body like this, you would kill off too many other things.
Yeah.
It's like, it's still probably going to be difficult on your endocrine system to get this out of your system after you've had it injected. But at the same time, it's still better than, well, you're just going to die because this is everywhere and there's nothing we can do about it. There is something that can be done. So,
goodness.
And Senior Sticks wants to know if we heard Trudy news. What's Trudy news? I'm curious about this now. But just looking at this, so what we're seeing is at both ends of the spectrum of this particular type of cancer. And a cancer that, again, this doesn't get a lot of funding because it isn't something that happens to both sexes. It's not something that happens to women. Women do not have a prostate, so they don't get prostate cancer.
Right. Which, brings up something that I wanted to say at the very beginning of this show is, isn't it interesting how you see all these football players every October, they come out with their pink this and pink that and pink shoes, all for breast cancer. And this is an organization run by and mostly occupied and employs men.
Yeah.
Why do they? Fine. If you want to have your breast cancer awareness thing, fine. Where is the equal, exposure for prostate cancer, things that actually affect the people that play this sport? These sports and own these fucking organizations. Why is it so deaf on one side?
Well, I want to see the women's sports teams that we are told to like women's basketball, women's soccer. Why aren't they coming out since men are stepping up for women's cancers? And breast cancer does happen to both sexes, but we see it more frequently occurring in women, by a long shot. But they're stepping up to support this cancer that is a mostly female cancer, and a lot of the organizations that support breast cancer also support ovarian cancer. Men don't have ovaries, so these men are stepping up, wearing pink and being proud to promote women's health. Where are the female athletes wearing blue and talking about the importance of prostate cancer research and testicular cancer research, penile cancer research, and early testing and awareness so that their loved ones don't die?
Well, you'll never see it, but that's mostly because nobody watches women's sports.
Yeah, that's true.
For all the whining they do about equal pay. How come we don't get as much money as the men do? Wow.
Richard Beer points out, remember that prostate cancer strikes men who are more elderly, whereas breast cancer and ovarian cancer strikes younger women. It kind of depends. Like, the older you get, the more likely you are to have some type of cancer. The tumors in cancer are essentially bad copies of your own cells, right? It's the copy machine isn't working right anymore, and you get something that is not supposed to happen in the cellular reproduction. So the older you get, your DNA has sort of this padding at the end of each strand called telomeres, and as you age, those get shorter. And there's different types of trauma, different types of things that affect your the stress on your body and everything. Also shorten those. So, for instance, if your childhood experience is growing up in a violent environment, your telomeres are damaged from that. If you grow up in gang territory, your telomeres are damaged from that. If you are on a ship that goes down and you survive that, damage to the telomeres. Things that cause PTSD cause damage to the telomeres. Then there's, of course, unhealthy diet, unhealthy lifestyles, and stuff like that can as well. So it's more likely, if you get a cancer when you're younger and you're female, it's more likely to be breast or ovarian cancer than it is to be other types of cancer. But it doesn't necessarily... There are many people who are middle-aged and older when they get breast cancer or ovarian cancer. But it can. Like, I was 27 when I had a cervical tumor, and it never got very big. It was one of those, you catch it really, really early, and they removed the entire thing with just a biopsy. I never had to have any other type of treatment for that. And there's never been another broken copy machine in that area of my body. It's like one of the few cancers I don't have a genetic predisposition to, and I got it anyway. So, and it went away really, really easily and really, really fast. So I don't like to think of it as I had cancer, as more as I dodged a bullet because I got pregnant. Like, if I hadn't been pregnant, I hadn't done the testing I was supposed to be doing in 7 years, because I didn't have insurance, and I also hate that testing. Like, I do it now, but I wasn't doing it in my 20s, and if I hadn't gotten pregnant, it was a type of cancer that would have progressed really quickly and been deadly. It's the one that Gilda Radner died from, if I understand correctly. So yeah, just one more way that I didn't die. but yeah. So So this is, like I said, you do your testing, because sometimes it's you guys aren't gonna get pregnant and find out that you have prostate cancer before it gets too dangerous. That's not a good way to find out either. Because if it had been farther along where they wouldn't have been able to remove the whole thing just with a biopsy, and like we're talking this size, smaller than the size of a sweet pea, right? If it had been further along, there would have been a terrible choice to make. Like, do we risk this getting to the baby? Do we kill the baby? So, get your testing.
All right, fine. Okay, all right, fine. Gotta do. And I'm the worst, like I just don't, because I don't, nothing feels bad on me, so I'm like, wow, why do I have to go do that? They want me to get a mammogram, they want to. I made the joke to one of my coworkers. I said, went to the doctor. She told me, they want me to get a colonoscopy and a mammogram. I said, sticking a camera up my butt and smashing my tits didn't sound as much fun as it did when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
But here we are. And so, yeah. All right, fine, Hannah, fine.
Yeah. And it's just important. And, same thing with men. Like, we went through all of Movember and didn't talk very much about this, but the fact that these advancements have been made sort of indicates, this has become something that people are more commonly aware of. Yeah, it's true that the older men are more likely to get prostate cancer, testicular cancers, penile cancers. Those are less likely to hit you in your early 20s or your early 30s or 40s. But when they do, and this is the other thing that people don't think about. Like, well, I'm young, I'm not going to get cancer. It's a tiny little chance. All right, but yeah, that tiny little chance is usually for the faster growing, faster progressing type. Whereas, if you get it when you're in your 70s, it's more likely to be just a fluke. It's not as, it doesn't mean that you don't have to worry about it, but it's not as big of a specter. It's not as big of a monster that you're, under your bed at that point.
Yeah.
And I saw family members go through that as well. And it's it's an easier thing to take care of when you're more likely to be getting your testing done at that age because the risk is higher. It's more likely to get caught early at that age because you're doing your testing, so you're more likely to have a short course of treatment and so on. But in any case, it is good to know that even if it gets as bad as it shows in this picture, there's something that can be done because there has been this funding for research into this subject has led to these drugs, this ability to use something that actually specifically targets a molecule specific to this cancer. So you're not poisoning your whole body, you're not destroying your lungs and your heart and your brain cells in the process. It's just going after the cancer.
Yeah.
And although it is going to be difficult on your endocrine system to get rid of it afterward, it's still better than there's nothing we can do. I'm sorry. So that's basically. Oh, go on, Lauren.
I was just gonna say I'm really curious as to why what they did, like the science behind it, and why this is only produced in the United States. Like what did they do? You know what I mean? Like how
here.
Yeah, but like how, like the science behind it, just I'm very curious about. But it's interesting. It's really really interesting. I can
tell you about that. So copyright and patenting with drug formulas is a little different. Like, if I write a book, write a story, and publish the book, and I copyright that, the story, and any images and all that, I believe it's, at this point, it's 75 years copyright, like if I register the copyright, and then I think if somebody inherits it, it's like 75 years after I die. So it's a really long time. But if I create a medication, it's a much shorter time period. You get I don't think you even get 10 years to be able to say, only I can make this, only my company can make this, you can't copy this. And they do that because, like, if I write a novel, it's not necessary in people's lives to have that specific novel. There's not something they're treating with that specific novel, right? But if I have a treatment, a medical treatment that people need, and I hoard it and charge a lot for it, then people will die. And so if there's a copyright on a particular formula or a patent on a particular creation of a product, right? You say, we're not making this drug, but you can't copy this, this literature we've written about it. Or, we're not making this drug, but it's patented, so you can't make the drug, you can't copy the actual recipe for the drug. They only get to do that for a short period of time, but they do get to do it for a short period of time, because if they didn't, it would not be profitable for companies to do the research to make these drugs available to the public. So they have this balance. I think they get like 7 years of being the sole holder of the formula and the only people allowed to make the drug. And after that 7 years, it's I think that's the maximum. Like, everybody can make generics of it and so on. And if it is, there are rules around some types of drugs that shorten it. Jen Bottle says 2 years he believes is the shortest time. And patents usually last for 17 years. Richard Beer says patents usually last for 17 years. So if I make a 3-pronged widget that is basically just a toy, I can withhold other people's ability to copy that for 17 years. But if I make a 3-pronged widget that is designed to make your heart work when it's trying to die, then I might only get 2 years to profit from that before anybody can copy it. Because it's much more important to stop people's heart from trying to die than it is to have a toy to play with.
Yeah.
So their intellectual property is weird. And there are arguments for completely terminating all intellectual property protection. I'm not going to get into those. It's a libertarian, authoritarian discussion, and in my mind, I have my position on it, and my position on it is not wouldn't be conducive to me being able to profit from intellectual property, and I think a lot of people argue against my position on the basis that these types of innovations and stuff wouldn't be done if people couldn't profit from it. But there was a time when intellectual property didn't exist, like, as a concept, and it was more a thing that you controlled through keeping secrets and comparing quality. So you say, my name is on this, and I provide a certain type of quality. If somebody else makes it, I don't guarantee their quality, and that's enough to make people decide where to get something. But again, the arguments are much more complex than that, and it's not like that's not really what this episode is about.
Yeah.
This episode is about men having access to treatments that were previously unavailable or previously not widely available, and being able to prolong their lives or prevent early death, at least, from something that is actually pretty scary. Let's see. Richard Beer also pointed out something about one of the cancers, and I didn't read it when I should have. Now I've lost it. Damn it. There we go. Actually, testicular cancer is referred to as young man's cancer. Yeah. Well, and again, like I said, listen to Tom Green. Play with your balls so you don't get cancer.
I think that's probably because there's no old guys with testicular cancer because they're all gone.
Yeah. Well, and that's just, like I said, one more reason to do your testing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Looking at the Rumble chat, see if there's anything. Alright, so we have... I've heard spinal trappings are quite passing for comical. So you mean spinal taps? Yeah, spinal tap is the movie was funny. The experience is not, but I don't know if it's as bad as everybody says it is when you're not in so much pain elsewhere that you don't feel it. But twice I've had a needle stuck in between the bones in my spine. Both times, other things going on were so unpleasant that it wasn't even noticeable. So, here you have a banana. It holds radiation. Do bananas hold radiation? Don't eat bananas when you go for or go for radiation therapy. Then
a tiny amount, yeah. And Brazil nuts are even worse. Be very careful about Brazil nuts. They're the most radioactive food stuff in the world. But it's negligible compared with stuff that'll actually kill you. If you eat like 1 million Brazil nuts, you might turn into a mutant. Otherwise, you're fine.
See, I actually love those, but they're hard as hell to get open, so I almost never have them.
I can't even remember the last time I've seen a Brazil nut.
Yeah, I think it's mainly because, like, they are a tough nut to crack. It takes a lot of hand strength to get through that shell. They're worse than walnuts, by a long shot, actually. So... and then Bad Set also says, "Is Xerox an X-ray? Why I got it?" Oh, he's looking at the image does kind of look like a bad Xerox. There's all those dots all over it.
Yeah, I was gonna make a tasteless joke about Pee Wee Herman and playing Connect the Dots. That's just not. That's bad.
It's the kind of joke I would make if I was in that situation. Like, doctor's like, "This is very serious," and I'm going, this looks like Connect the Dots. I can see, how it would be turned into. Why do I have an alien face hugger? Like, but yeah,
I couldn't imagine going to a doctor and them showing that to me and saying that is me.
Yeah.
Which, again, just really makes me want to make another fucking appointment, you know what I mean? Just to make sure. And it's always when I think that, I think there's something going on, and I go to the doctor, and I'm like, no, you're fine, just do this, whatever. But it's just, being able to at least know that whether or not something is going wrong, that
Yeah.
you can have, you know what I'm saying? There's someone there that can, let you know what's happening, whether or not you should be concerned,
Well, and
you know?
most of all, that something can be done. Like that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing is when you see something like that in the doctor's office, it's terrifying, just absolutely terrifying. Like this is all over your
Hmm.
body now, and there's it's everywhere. It's in every system because that's
Mm.
one of the things that happens in my family, and it's not. I don't think it's limited to my family. I think it's probably a more common thing. But you we have a lot of history with cancers. I got told as a child that smoking was just not an option. For instance,
Mm.
we have a major predisposition toward lung cancer, and there were dietary choices I made growing up because there are certain foods that help to mitigate your predisposition toward cancer. That's why I'm a fart machine. Like, because a lot of the things that you eat to help ward off digestive cancers give you gas. But in any case, so I lost my train of thought. Damn it, brain cancer. No, I was basically talking about the predisposition toward cancer, the things that I was told in my family, and lung cancers. Shit,
Mm.
I completely lost where I was going with that. Oh yeah, it was if you start out, you get one type of cancer, and this happened with my dad's mother, my grandmother on my dad's side of the family. And if I remember right, I can't remember whether she started out with lung cancer or colon cancer. But when you have one type and they treat it and you stay good for 5 years afterward, it's a fairly clean bill of health, right? And when it gets into a second system, because your digestive system and your respiratory system are two different systems, and it's gotten into the blood and started infecting a different type of tissue, started
Mm.
affecting a different type of tissue, then it's a lot scarier. It becomes exponentially scarier, but you still have a
Yeah.
chance. But when it starts affecting a third type of tissue, which in her case was bone cancer, you're gone. Like we don't come back from that. Some people do. Some people can. I have seen people. We've known people. Like Brian came back from that, right?
Hmm.
But not in my family. So like if you have that gene, if you happen to do medical gene sequencing and you find out that hey, guess what? You have the fuck you gene, um, then you definitely want to do all of the preventative things you can, because if you get that third system affected by the cancer, uh, then you're screwed. And in this situation, it looks like you look at a system like this, you can see that it has affected the endocrine system, but there are tumors that look like they may be where there's nerve or bone instead. It looks like there's tumors in the lungs. So it looks like it's affected two, maybe three systems there.
Yeah.
And yet it's treatable. And the treatment is targeted. So I know for me, looking at that, even though specifically prostate cancer isn't something that I personally have to worry about. I mean, I've men in my family. This is really good news from my perspective, just because with the men in my family, they're at risk of this. They're at risk of not finding out until it has metastasized and moved on to other systems, gotten in the blood and moved on to other systems. And this allows a situation of at least there's something we can still do. if that happens.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's anything else to really say about the specific thing. Let's see. Richard Beer said when the patent was expiring for R12 refrigerant, DuPont actually funded the environmental hysteria about it damaging the ozone layer. That's interesting. Yeah. Well, I can tell you one other thing about refrigerant. There's a lot of maintenance stuff you can do in your home where you fix it yourself instead of calling somebody. I personally recommend that the average individual not fuck around with refrigerants, even the modern ones that are supposed to be environmentally safe, as opposed to the old ones that are, say, supposedly not environmentally safe. And I'm not commenting on whether they are or not, but I had a family member that now lives in Texas instead of Ohio because he got exposed to spray from a refrigerant, and he cannot get cold now. If he gets cold, it's excruciating because he had skin damage, he had frostbite, and this is instant frostbite. So if you're getting, if you're switching out the refrigerant in an air conditioner in your car, for instance, I think that's what he was doing when it happened. Like, maybe just go have a professional do that and not take the risk. Because, not that living in Texas is bad, but living in Texas because you have to and not by choice kind of sucks.
No. There's certain things, you just don't do on your own when it comes to your car. That's why you pay people to do it, because and it's not any better that they get exposed to it because we do, but there's certain, we know how to protect ourselves. There are protocols in place for us to, handle this stuff and not get a face full of fucking Freon.
Yeah. It's exactly the same thing as any other high risk thing. If you go to the area where it's being done professionally, there are tools to prevent exposure. There are tools to protect the individual, safety measures. Whereas if you're doing it in your backyard, there aren't necessarily the same tools available there.
Yeah.
And with that, I don't really see any other comments. I do see we have some super chows. So, Meredith G gave us $5 and said HBR Talk 289, honey for the Badgers. Dane gave us $5 and says, I can only think about all the cancers treatments that could have been discovered if men's cancer research wasn't underfunded. One example, I agree. One example of a cancer treatment that was discovered to treat another cancer is treatment, I believe this is pronounced imatinib. I hope that's right. It's called Gleevec for chronic myeloid leukemia. Researchers identified the BCR-ABL fusion protein as a key factor in CML, which is chronic myeloid leukemia, leading to the development of this drug, a targeted therapy that revolutionized the treatment of this specific type of leukemia. Reminds me of a story either Allison or Karen told about how funding to help men and women was cut because the organization didn't want a number of men receiving help to be equal or more than women. It also reminds me of the quote from a judge that acquitted a doctor and a nurse for performing female circumcision. He said that, I don't see the issue. It's done to boys. The judge was Jewish. Maybe if feminists hadn't removed boys from the anti-FGM bill that was originally gender neutral, maybe that girl would have gotten justice for her mutilation. My point is that segregation harms and it delays progress, which is true. And you look at this. I remember reading in a couple of places that more men are affected by cancer than women. And it's probably partly because of work that men do as opposed to work that women do. Men are more likely to be working in environments where they're going to be exposed to toxins that can increase your cancer risk, that affect those telomeres, and also that can simply just poison the body in ways that can cause mutation.
Maybe it's just for evolutionary reasons. For the same reason that humans in general are more protective of women than men.
Right.
Maybe evolution itself is more protective of women than men. That it doesn't matter if men die, because all you need is one man to repopulate a tribe.
Well,
whereas if
that would
women
lead
get
to a pretty inbred tribe.
which is a possibility.
Yeah. But I mean, like, if you look at
evolution can work its way around that, because
if
women are more important. Women's survival is more important to evolution than men's survival, for reasons we've been stating for years now. That women are the evolutionary bottleneck. If women die, your species is fucked. If men die, it's less important because one man can impregnate hundreds of women, but one woman cannot be impregnated by hundreds of men. Well, they can, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
So
well,
maybe there's genetic
limit
evolutionary reasons for all of this.
She's got a
on
limit
top
based
of
on
on
how
top
many
of all the
eggs
other
she's
things.
got. Yeah,
Yeah.
She's got a limit based on how many eggs she's got too, and some of those eggs aren't necessarily great. But like one of the things that I was referring to with regard to the work and things, you look at the cancer that you see lawyer ads for on TV all the time, mesothelioma. It often results from exposure to asbestos. So the people who are more at risk for that are going to be people who work in construction and demolition. Because if you work in an office that has asbestos in the ceiling or something like that, your exposure to it is going to be minimal unless something happens to release it. But if you work in a job where you are actually applying it or had been applying it, or you are taking things apart that have, like you're deconstructing things that have asbestos in them, then precautions are no. You're still more likely to get exposure, and you're going to have a higher level of exposure than someone who just sat in a room while that sat in the walls. And then firefighters are also in a lot of danger from that. Older buildings that burn down that had asbestos can be another really dangerous prospect for them. So you see more men exposed to things like that. The type of cancer that you get from white lung exposure, like the fumes from paint that you spray onto cars. The Camp Lejeune ad's another one. That's just more men on the base than there are women. So you're seeing again a higher exposure of men to things that increase your risk. And I'm not going to necessarily say cause cancer, because if it's demonstrated that your level of starting risk is determined by your genetic makeup, if you also have mutations on your motherfucker gene, call this number. There's nobody to sue for that. What are you going to do? Sue God? Right? The court's not even allowed to decide whether or not God exists. So good luck with that. Also, good luck getting him to pay up. But in any case, it's not necessarily that the substances are the cause of the cancer. They are a contributing factor. So, for instance, on my mom's side of the family, my grandfather smoked for 40 years and didn't get lung cancer. I probably couldn't smoke for 40 minutes and have that result. because I got my dad's DNA too, right? That's a killer. But yeah, my male family members were more likely to be affected for the most part because they were more likely to be working in those types of environments. My grandmother, who died of 3 different types of cancer, worked in a rubber processing plant, made tires, and she worked in a cheese processing plant. She used to make something called Chef's Delight. I don't even know if that cheese is still available. But she worked with machines that put out toxins, and she worked with chemicals that were toxic. And I mean, rubber is toxic. So there's that. Like that may have been, and she smoked like a chimney. So that was pretty much a death sentence for her. Dane gave us $5 and said smoking also damages telomeres, it's especially bad for women that plan on being mothers because it also affects the child, even if she quits smoking. People don't realize that they're technically more related to their mother than they are to their father. Only if she is the other gamete, but you develop inside her. She provides you with the building blocks, and if the quality of her building blocks are poor, that's what you'll be made of. It's far more selfish for women to smoke because it causes permanent DNA, cellular, and epigenetic damage. It also causes mutations. And there's something that to this that people don't realize, right? Men, your semen gets disposed of and remade all the time. So it's not a lasting thing, and if you have some kind of toxin or something in your system for a while when you're 20 years old, but you don't have kids till you're 30, and you haven't done any of the things that put that toxin in your system, and your body's eliminated it by that time, it's not going to affect your semen. Our eggs are created in our bodies when we are at 16 weeks gestation in utero. Our mothers carry them. So when a woman is 16 weeks into her pregnancy, the eggs that could potentially become her grandbabies are in there. She's carrying them. So anything that she does to her body can affect not only her body and her daughter's body, but also the future health of her grandbabies.
Hence that thing that
stuff there.
Not only were you once inside your mother, you were once inside your grandmother.
Yep.
So does that even extend to grandmothers who smoke? Possibly. I'm sure there are some scientists who will say so, and I don't know what degree we should trust the scientists. But yeah, nobody should smoke. It's a fucking silly thing to do.
Nobody should get started, that's for sure. And you know what's really gross about it is when my grandmothers were in their early 20s and younger, cigarettes were advertised by stating 4 out of 5 doctors prefer this brand of cigarettes.
Yeah, once upon a time, it was almost exclusively men who smoked.
Yeah,
because it's kind of stereotypically considered an attractive thing for men to do because it makes their voices deeper and huskier. And it does the same thing to women, but I guess it's less attractive in women. It still kind of is. We all like a husky voice, like the one I'm talking in now. But yeah, in any case, men got into smoking before it was even advertised. Whereas women didn't get into smoking until it was advertised, and it was.
And they were targeted.
Deliberately by tobacco companies.
Yep.
Just to extend their sales base, and it worked like a treat.
Yeah.
And yeah, the consequences are becoming apparent. Even to the point where because women smoked, men smoked even more.
Yep.
And then because men smoked even more, women smoked even more, and because women smoked even more, men smoked even more.
Yep.
And
Then you have this
on
damage.
and on it goes.
You have this generational damage from it, and I kind of wonder if the grandbabies, the babies and grandbabies of smokers are more likely, like women who were smokers, are more likely to be smokers in their lifetimes because of the tobacco exposure in utero. Does it change anything? Probably the baby more likely than the grandbabies. But interestingly enough, the rest of Dane's comment is smokers and former smokers cannot take telomere lengthening drugs because the damage done to their DNA and cells, because it'll increase their odds of developing cancer. And something else about cancer is, like it rewrites your DNA. It's to a degree that mutates it, right? It also recreates those in probably a warped manner as well. And so if you take those drugs, and you already have the predisposition, you already have the conditions in place to develop cancer, you're going to get a bad copy instead of a good copy. So you're basically fucking yourself if you do that. And again, like this puts a big responsibility on women, and it's something that feminists have destroyed. The sanctity of the stewardship role that women have in the creation of life. Both sexes contribute to the creation of life, but it's women who are the protectors of life. We're the ones who decide when it's going to be created based on our consent, right? We're the ones who decide with whom based on our consent, and we're the ones who decide the environmental conditions in which it's going to be created based on our lifestyle choices. So if we make bad lifestyle choices and we make bad character judgments and bad choices in timing, it's us who fucks things up for the next generation. And then feminists blame men. And it's unreal because it's the woman's body, right? They want to say woman's body, woman's choice. It's the woman's body that inflicts the damage. It's the woman's body that can be the protective environment. It's the woman's body that can be the safe haven for the growth of a new human life. And feminists want women to throw that away. They want to treat it like it's not something sacred. Right? And when I say protectors, I mean protectors. Like, I gave birth in February when I had my baby. I didn't get into a car that I didn't have to get into from November through February because of how big my belly was. The risk of damage to the baby was just too high. I was afraid we couldn't even get rear-ended without doing damage to the baby. Early in the pregnancy, probably not any more dangerous than any other time. But later in the pregnancy, the farther the development is along, the less cushioning you have between the baby and the outside world. And same thing, my whole diet changed. I cut out a lot of bad stuff that you don't want to feed the baby nothing but junk food. You want to feed the baby good food. I bought a book on nutrition and everything to protect the environment in which the baby is growing. Part of that protection is your character judgment of who are you going to do this with? Who are you going to make this baby with? Are you going to choose to stick around with this person? And you should, right? If you're going to make a baby with somebody, that should be somebody that you're going to raise the baby with. And so when a woman just randomly makes a baby with some guy that she's not going to marry, she's not going to make a home with, she's not going to raise a child with, and she's not going to entrust with her safety and her children's safety, she is failing to protect her child right there. That is a failure. So it is very important for women in particular to make good choices. And in fact, I would say women's reproductive choices are far more important to the welfare of their children than those of men. Women have much more responsibility to their children in their decision-making process. We have to start earlier in our decision-making process, and we have to be more careful. Obviously, character judgment is a both sexist thing. You don't want to make a baby with somebody who's an idiot. You know, you don't want to make a baby with somebody who's not going to let you be part of the child's life and stuff like that. As men, you know, you want a trustworthy and responsible mother for your children. But it's her responsibility to be that person. It's only your responsibility to choose that person. So, you know, in my opinion, it is a more egregious sin or crime for a girl to be careless with her body than it is for a boy to be careless with his. It's his choice, you know, and if he fucks up, more likely than not, it'll make it so that he can't reproduce, rather than that his reproduction will lead to bad outcomes for his children. Doesn't mean we don't care as much about boys. Like, they're just as important, and their right to be taught to take care of themselves is just as important. But holy shit, girls, step up to the plate. You know, women, step up to the plate and teach your daughters. Who is responsible for the environment that your baby is going to gestate in? That's you. And you can affect your child's future chances of developing cancer, of having any kind of physical or intellectual disability before you ever conceive. So, big responsibility there. But with that, I think I'm going to call it, because I've gone through all of the super chows. We don't have any super chats. I don't see any super chats, any Rumble rants that are paid. So that's all of the paid chats. And I will say, LMIHK says, I'm a guy listening to this. I would love this to be taught to girls and boys in schools throughout their entire elementary, high, university, adult. I wish. It used to be taught to kids, at least in some ways. My health teacher in junior high school was a woman. And this is stuff that she said to the girls when we were in, you know, they split you up and the girls go learn about their periods and the boys go learn about all of the different ways that testosterone affects you when you're developing as an adolescent. But we heard about it as Gen Xers. But I feel sorry for the fact that probably Gen Y didn't. And by that time she was retired, and I don't think it was as common to put responsibility on girls when Gen Y was in school. And I'm 100% certain that Zoomers don't hear it. And they should. Like, you can protect your grandbabies from certain types of health conditions by affecting the environment in which your female babies gestate. Like, yep, and that's yeah, it's something that Miss Hawks, you know, maybe it was Mrs. Hawks, I can't even remember, but she was a great teacher, and she did give us a gift by discussing that with us, and it was something that you don't hear very often, that But she was also a very conscientious. I was very lucky. I went to school with a lot of very conscientious teachers, men and women, and you don't see that very much anymore. But with that, I am going to go ahead and call the show. I think we're done with the discussion. Glad to see that there are 2 therapies available that are becoming more widely available. That at both ends of the possibilities with prostate cancer. If you catch it early, there are therapies that are less intrusive and less likely to subject you to side effects and any potential bodily damage. And if it gets to the point where we once would have said, well, gosh, this is terrible, it's too late, it's in too many systems, well, now it's not. It's not too late, it's not in too many systems. There's something that can be done. And so I will thank my 2 co-hosts for going through these 2 articles and the information with me. And
I think we all appreciate the short sausage. This is what happens when there's good news.
Yeah.
There's less to yell about. So we're just going to go, this happened, this happened, this happened, do what you will. Thanks for coming out, everyone. Do what you will with the short sausage.
Yep.
It's short, but it's not even girthy. It's a healthy sausage.
Yes.
It'll put hairs on your chest or something.
I don't need any more of those. I already have like 3, but thanks. Everybody didn't need to know that, probably. What happens when you get old? At least it's not like with men, and I'm not getting hair in my ears. Whereabouts
are actually, that's an inappropriate question.
Yeah, you don't want to know.
I don't.
Actually, right now they're in the trash can in the bathroom. So
okay,
I do pluck those because I don't like them. But and also if I don't get rid of them, they like work their way under the skin, which is really bizarre. But thanks to everybody who listened to the healthy sausage and my weirdness, and thanks to everybody who works in the background to make HBR Talk happen. And good night, all.
Good night, y'all.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.